And welcome back to Newsmaker Sunday. We continue our discussion with Congressman Glenn Grothman. Next big topic beside the wall, the partial government shutdown, which we just finished up with. Was it worth it in your eyes?
Well, people didn't understand why the government was shut down. If we're going to build a wall, we're going to build that wall with money put together in the budget. And President Trump was entering his third year. In his first 2 years, he signed budgets or appropriation bills that, quite frankly, were too free spending, driving the country further into debt. President Trump complained himself. But for 2 years, he voted for bad budgets, admittedly bad budgets, because he didn't want to shut down the government. When it finally came around to the third year, President Trump said, look, there's plenty of increases in spending here for other things. I am not going to sign a new budget bill unless we have funding for a wall. And that's the place where funding for a wall belongs. That's where spending on everything else is, in the budget. But I don't think President Trump explained the connection between the wall and the shutdown, and the fact that he had been patient enough to sign budgets for 2 entire years without the wall, over his objections.
You were one of 7 House members who did not vote for federal pay for back pay for federal workers. Well, has that been mischaracterized?
Very mischaracterized. Okay. There are 2 groups of federal workers who were affected by the shutdown. I adamantly felt that people who were working should be paid on a timely basis. And in this area, you look along Lake Michigan, the Coast Guard, you look at the TSA agents who were working, it was ridiculous they weren't being paid. And quite frankly, both the Republicans and Democrats could have brought up a bill that I co-sponsored to make sure the people who were working were paid timely. It was ridiculous to have a bill dealing with worker pay and not make sure that people who were working were paid on a timely basis. Now, there was another class of people who didn't work for a month. It was through no fault of their own. Normally, if you're laid off, you just get unemployment, and these people were eligible for unemployment. I didn't mind giving them more than unemployment because it was kind of, you know, the politicians' fault. But I felt to pay them 100% for not working was a little bit much. And I say that reluctantly, but we are very, very in debt. And, you know, normally if you get laid off, you get unemployment. I was willing to pay 60, 70%, but I thought to vote for 100%,
but the worker out there is saying it wasn't my fault.
It wasn't your fault. But it's always true if you're laid off, or usually that it's not your fault, right? Something happened at the business, you know, beyond everybody's control. And I thought 100%, some of those people, not many, but some of the folks were scrambling to get part-time work or something. They were eligible for unemployment, and 100% pay. I've known a lot of people who are laid off, and when they talk to me, they say, hey, when I was laid off, I didn't get 100% pay. So I was willing to go more than unemployment, but not 100%.
Mm-hmm. You have introduced a bipartisan bill which would ensure the government never shuts down again.
Right. I used to be in the state legislature.
Right.
And ever since 1953, sometimes the state legislature doesn't get the budget done on time, but you don't have this thing where people are laid off and government stops. On a state level, if we don't pass a budget on a timely basis, we keep spending the same amount as the prior year until Congress comes up with a budget. And sometimes, on rare occasions, they might be 3 or 4 months late, but you don't have the disruptions you had at a federal level. We should repeat that on a federal level. I've had a lot of people who have given me positive comments on that bill. It's very difficult to get things through Congress. There's some extreme Democrats and extreme Republicans who don't like the bill, but I'd like to think we have somewhat of a chance of it passing.
So where is the bill right now?
Oh, it's in committee.
Okay.
It'll be in the budget committee, and I know the budget chair, a Democrat right now, and I hope he gives it a good, fair hearing and votes it out of committee.
What do you see happening with it, realistically?
Well, I think there's a chance we can get it on the floor of the House. In the Senate, the rules make it very difficult to pass anything a little bit controversial. It shouldn't be controversial, but I know there's some Democrats who feel that if we have a mechanism just to spend the same amount as last year, some Republicans will never reach a compromise and will never increase spending. And there's some Republicans who feel we should be cutting spending every year. So it's dicier, but hopefully maybe a good government coalition can get together and move that bill.
More than one of your comments today has seemed to indicate that you can get along in Washington.
Oh,
it doesn't look that way from the outside.
No, I think the people get along very well. I think one of the reasons people got elected is these local people felt they were nice people. People, you know, when I get back next week, people get along fabulously as we discuss the weather, as we discuss college basketball, as we discuss people who went on vacations. The problem is when it gets down to reaching agreements, like I said, I think over time, I have a lot of good Democrat friends over there. I count them as good friends, but I think there's been a more radical element that's taken over, and you can get along with them personally, but they really feel we need more welfare. They feel we need more government spending, more government regulation. And as somebody who ran on a topic of, you know, we need less red tape out there and we've got to do something about balancing the budget, you know, sometimes it's hard to get together because both sides want to go further their way. And I do think if we got back to where the Democrat Party was 20 years ago, I think we could solve a lot of problems pretty quickly.
And when you say more radical element, is this specifically in reference to the past election?
Well, not just the past election. I think over the last 4 or 6 years, government keeps growing. And, you know, when you say, are you conservative or are you a liberal, you know, I would say, what do you think is an appropriate size of government? If we said, I'm going to keep the government where it was in 2010, when Barack Obama was president, but leave it at where it was 2010, a lot of people would say, wow, you're a radical conservative, you know, because government should be so much bigger than it was in 2010. And I think that is a little bit of the problem. I think the size of government, it keeps growing, and therefore it becomes more difficult for people to say this is the appropriate level.
Congressman Glenn Grothman is our guest, and we have more right after this, so please stay with us.